Cars are rolling around the speedway, building up some heat in the tires and the engines. Adrenaline pumping, I'm sure, inside those drivers as we get ready to go green. Frank, tell me a little bit about this race today.
Well, it's going to be a fast race. You know, it's a 7/8 mile racetrack, so these guys are used to running. I mean, the West Series was just at Tucson, which is a 3/8 mile. Around this place, they're going to be running 140, 150 miles an hour down the straightaway, so extremely fast.
Derek has a story of one driver to watch.
One of the drivers tonight to watch is that number 27 iBox-sponsored machine of Kyle Benjamin. It's a whole family-run operation. They get a little bit of help from Roush Racing because he is a Roush development driver, but completely run by the family. It's their own work and their own dedication to the K&N Pro Series. They're doing really good this year. They picked up a win at the Bristol Motor Speedway a couple of weeks ago, and he starts 5th today.
Well, winning at Bristol is certainly an accomplishment no matter what series you're competing in, Derek. So that's definitely one driver we'll keep an eye on here today. Lights are off on the pace car. Let's take a quick look at the starting grid. There you see the front row. William Byron and Brandon McReynolds making up the front. You folks can read through the rest of the grid. Frank, from the crew chief side of the game, how do we want to set up for this race tonight?
Ralph, the first thing they've got to do is preach. The crew chief's preaching to these guys patience. You can't win the race on the first lap. Don't drive into the corner too deep early on this fast racetrack. You don't know exactly how the top line is going to come in. We need a little bit of rubber to get up there, so got to be patient early.
Parker, what are you thinking of as a driver?
I'm thinking about that right front right now. You hear a lot of the cars talk about being tight. This track just lends itself to really abusing that right front, especially in a series where you need to take care of those tires. It's very important. How you take care of your tires on lap 1 will affect you lap 75 or lap 150.
It pays points like a regular race, but let's not kid ourselves, guys. There is a lot of pride on the line here today.
There is, but you cannot win it on lap 1, but you can lose it on lap 1. That's the key.
Pace car is pulling off. The Casey's General Stores 150. Ready to go green from Iowa.
Good start by the pole sitter there. William Byron, for sure. That's really important right there on the bottom to get off the corner, get the lead early, and start taking care of your race car for the 75 laps to the halfway.
Whoa, one car drifting way up to the top of the racetrack.
And that's where preaching patience early. They've got to, just cannot get up there that high until some rubber gets laid down. Looked like Dylan Bassett right there.
Yep, the 44 Bassett.
And now it's just, he has all that stuff on his tires. It's going to be really tough to get back down in line and get your composure back, get back in the rhythm, and get back to driving that car on the bottom and getting your rhythm to hopefully move forward again. You don't want to get back up in all that loose stuff up there.
Gralla right there just in front of him into 3. We talked about that adrenaline too, Park, in those early laps. It's tough sometimes to get yourself calmed down as we watch James Bickford in that neon bright orange and blue, number 6 on the high side here.
Yeah, especially Ralph. And, you know, this is one point right here where you need to make the decision, Bickford, where he's on the outside line hasn't really come in yet, and so you're thinking, all right, what can you do to just take care of your race car right now? Maybe let the 27 go on by, get in behind him, and let's move forward and not abuse our race cars this early in a long race. As you see, the 27's is probably going to get ahead of him here if he gives him the spot. And this is where you hear about that give and take all the time early in a race among so many drivers. You want to give and take. Where you need to give is right now. When you take is at the end of the race.
Galding, Gray in that number 12 on the bottom. Looks like the bottom not going to work for him here as he loses a position.
No, but the great thing about this racetrack, Ralph, is that there is a top line and a bottom line, and we're seeing that already early tonight here. I mean, we're talking about the top not being great, but it has come in pretty quickly as long as you don't get into the gray stuff.
Jesse Little in the 97. Speaking of drivers to keep an eye on, this is a young man, son of NASCAR star Chad Little, now NASCAR official Chad Little. It's a young driver who's got a lot of potential too, Frank.
I've watched him come up through the field right here. He started 13th, and he's moving up quickly. His car is really cutting the bottom extremely well. You look at these other guys, they're not getting down to the yellow line like he is. He's right on the bottom, got that left front cutting really good and being able to get off the corner. Even though that outside guy's got some momentum, he's able to make a pass.
Boy, that car is really sticking to the bottom, working great as he gets to the inside of Bickford. He's going to pick up another position.
And he's doing exactly what you want a race car to do at Iowa. You want it to get on that left front and turn with the left front really well because it's protecting the right front and it's fast. It's really fast when you're able to rotate the center at this racetrack and be in the throttle, being how large it is with these cars not having very high horsepower.
I think you're actually giving the crew chief a compliment right there.
I am a little bit.
I mean,
right?
the car's driving well.
Yeah, if at this point in the race, when you can come out of the box and be really set up that well, you've done a good job in practice, you've hopefully qualified well, and then when you're coming through the pack like this, you just want to take care of it and keep that going and think about what you need to do later in the race when the track rubbers up and the car starts to heat up, etc. How you need to adjust that car to keep it doing that. But once you know that feel, it's easier to get that later in the race.
Driver always compliments the crew chief when he gets to victory lane, but when he's tagging the back of the field, Frank, you're the problem.
More times than not, I'm the problem.
It's always your fault when we're running the back. Come on.
Early stages of this one, and there's the 44 starting to get the groove going. Now we saw him early on, way upstairs, couldn't get that car to work. Bassett now finally to the bottom here, starting to make things work the way he needs it to and starting to pick off some of those spots he lost.
And that's being smart, right, Frank?
Yeah, and, well, listen, this young man, this is his first year in the series.
Boy,
I take that back,
he was
baby.
hanging the tail out there, wasn't he?
This is his first year in the series, so I mean, he's young. I think he's 17, 18 years old. Trying to learn these cars, and again, when you look at that start, he just overdrove the corner. Now he's settled down a little bit, getting some patience, rolling out of the gas early, letting the car kind of work for him a little bit.
Drives that car out in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the Bassett Gutters Ford. This is a series that's been great for first-time winners, especially at this venue, like Chase Elliott, who pulled off his career first victory here. Cole Custer found Iowa Speedway to his liking as well. 00 was #1 here. And how about Brandon Jones? He did the same, getting his first win here at Iowa Speedway. Been a great racetrack for that.
Definitely. I actually won an ARCA race here a couple years ago. So
here's Derek with more on Jesse Little.
And just a report on Jesse Little. He started 13th at the drop of the green. He's already moved up inside the top 5 right now. Walked over to his crew chief and I said, you guys have moved up pretty fast. Has the driver said anything to you on the radio? He said, nope, and that's a good sign.
You have to feel good early on, I would think, Frank. When the driver is nice and quiet, you know things are going the way you need it to be at that point.
Well, absolutely. And from a crew chief standpoint, you're not saying a whole lot. I mean, when he keeps picking off cars like that, you're just letting him know, you're 1 second behind the next spot and kind of keeping him posted on who he needs to keep going after. Stay focused on hitting his marks.
Well, right now, you need to stay focused on Byron and McReynolds. They're up at the front. They've been leading this thing since we went green. As you watch the pack here giving chase.
yeah, we've got a great battle pack here, I'd like to say, led by Scott Hecker in that 34 H Scott Motorsports car. But, I think this is something we're starting to see the groove come in. Frank and I have talked about it a little bit, but you're starting to see the outside line be able to work. You're seeing a bunch of cars looking for the grip out there. And that 6 car getting a little loose on the bottom.
Yeah, Parker, how do you, feel as a driver out there when you're up on the edge right there? I mean, do you let somebody else decide, or can you just feel where that grade keeps moving up?
That's actually a great question, Frank, and I think it's something as a driver I've always thought a lot about is who is the first mover? Do you wait for someone else to do it, or you go up there and test the waters a little bit? And I think a lot of times you find that second groove when you're forced up there. When you have a car in front of you and you can't get around them on the bottom, you say, why not try the outside? Or a guy gets under you, forces you up, and you suddenly start to gain speed, and your crew chief comes on and says, hey, that's a half a tenth faster.
Well, Nicole Bihar's up on the outside right now in that neon yellow with the blue accents, number 33. I think she'd like to put that car down to that lower level right now because she's losing some spots. You can see it looks like the back end slipping a little bit on the 33 as she's stuck now back behind that number 2 machine, and it's costing her.
Yeah, it's not quite working for her, and Bickford here is going to go down the inside and hopefully get her.
These cars with the bias ply tires are so fun to watch and to race, I'm sure, from Parker's standpoint, because you can slip and slide them around a whole lot more than what we run on the Sprint Cup Series with a radial tire. And you see that when these cars are in the corner. We got a problem here on Greg Galding.
Craig Galding, the Krispy Kreme number 12, slowing with sparks coming off that right front. Looks like he has a right front down, and he's going to bring out the first caution of the day.
And that's why we say take care of that right front here. It's very important. This place can very or abuse a right front really hard, especially early on in a run.
Right now, the driver's a little upset that the crew chief probably has too much camera in him.
That or he used too much brake, you never know. There's a lot of factors there, but we know this track really abuses those right fronts.
There will be a mandatory stop halfway through this race, scheduled for 150 laps. That'll come in and around lap 75. But we're going to have a yellow here anyway, courtesy of Greg Galding's flattened right front.
Yeah, and hopefully he didn't abuse, too much of the bottom of the race car there. I mean, it doesn't look like there's a lot of damage. They can put a right front on and keep going.
They'll take care of that. We'll take care of this break. We'll be right back to NBC SN after this. Back here at Newton, Iowa, the sun is definitely setting in a hurry here. The lights are shining bright, and we're getting ready to go back to green after our first caution of the day. Before we do that, let's touch base with one of the crew chiefs. Here's Derek Perniciglio.
Ty Joyner is the crew chief for the 16 of Brandon McReynolds. The car has been fast all day. Has the driver said anything on the radio?
He said it's pretty good, just a little snug in, a little free off, but he likes it. We're just gonna maybe do a little tuning, probably focus more on getting off the corner because he's getting in pretty good, nice and snug, and that's keeping the arc in and getting it through the center. So yeah, we'll just work on it a little bit and see if we can get this thing tonight.
Is the 9 of William Byron your toughest competition right now?
Yeah, I'd say he's definitely the toughest, but there's some other guys out there with a couple changes that could be right there with us too. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot of good cars here.
Strong run so far for Brandon McReynolds.
Sure has been, Derek, and we talked about how this racetrack has provided first-time wins for guys. Brandon McReynolds, one of those drivers in that Napa 16, looking for career win number 1.
Definitely, and one thing I want to point out there that Ty said, which was the arc in. It was helping, he was snug in, it was helping him have a large arc. And this racetrack, especially into turn 1, when you can have a large arc, which sets you up straighter through the center of the corner and allowing you to get back to the throttle and have a straighter exit, 1, it takes care of your right front, and 2, it's where the speed is made at this racetrack.
Let's keep an eye on it as we get ready to go back to green. McReynolds on the outside.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see if he can get the jump here on the outside, getting off turn 2, because earlier tonight we saw him actually take the lead from the outside. I'm a little surprised that William Byron gave him the outside right here.
Yeah, it looks like that inside just was way faster and had definitely more grip as the rubber is taken off under the yellow. He's able to get away from the 16 Brandon McReynolds.
Look at Jesse Little creeping her up on the outside in that black and orange 97. He got awful close to the wall. Jesse gathers it back up, cost him some momentum, and he's going to fall right back into 4th.
Ronnie Bassett Jr. is having a great run tonight in 3rd. That was his brother earlier tonight. We talked about getting in the high groove there and losing some spots, but his brother has actually been doing a great job in the top 5 most of the night.
Look at this, Frank.
Man.
Whoa.
Crazy back here,
3
isn't
wide.
it?
3 wide, 4 wide. I mean, they're all over the place. And this is what this racetrack does so well. And when you're in that situation as a driver, you need to find your niche, I like to say, is when you're in this situation, you just have to find a place where you can get away from the other cars, because that's when you're looking to get wrecked or be involved in something that's probably not even of your making.
I don't think Nick Drake in the 15 that high up was his niche. I don't think that's where he wanted to be.
He was looking to find a new spot, wasn't he? Jesse back to the bottom, and Little tries to get around the inside of Bassett, and I think this time it might work for him.
Ooh, Bassett really squeezed the 97 and Jesse Little there, and that's really easy for the outside car to do, tough for the 97. You can get frustrated when that happens. He's taking the side force off the 97, and you need to be patient right there to let the 04 kind of get moved out like he is here, get back to the throttle and get away, because otherwise you can take that side force off, well, the 04 can take the side force off you in the 97, and you can spin out.
Pretty good squabble going on here between Haley and Benjamin. They're fighting over 7th position.
Yeah, and you see the difference there between what you saw in the 04 and the 97 and the 5 and the 27. The 27 gave the 5 room. The 5 went on. They don't lose a lot of time.
Let's touch base once again with Derek.
Your point leader, William Byron, has been on a roll in the last couple of races. He only started driving a race car 2 years ago. He said he loved racing all of his life. He's been a fan of it since the single digits. The reason why it took him so late to start driving is because his mother didn't want him racing.
Well, a lot of times it can be tough to convince mom that racing is okay.
I actually know that all too well myself. My parents were vehemently against me racing up until I turned my teens and was able to get a kart for the first time. And my dad, I think, still doesn't approve of it sometimes.
With age comes a microphone, Parker.
Yes, exactly. More good racing here, though. We've got 3 wide again, and I think that's what you really see a lot of times in the back of the pack, especially here at Iowa, where cars are jockeying for position, trying to find their space, and once again we see 3 wide. And sometimes this isn't probably the smartest thing to do, being only halfway through the race here, and
oh man,
a little bit of a move there. And that's exactly what can happen when you are 3 wide. The middle car can get flustered. The 71's trying to move forward and maybe could have been taken out.
It looks like Austin Hill on the outside there. He's making that outside lane work a little bit. I don't know that he wants to be up that high, but he's making it work.
That's Alex Shuddy in that 21. He's out of Redding, California, one of the West Series drivers. Now remember, we said there would be a mandatory stop in the race in and or around lap 75, so we're in the zone, guys.
We are getting close, and I'm sure there's some drivers right here in this massive pack when their car's not handling very well that are wishing that they would throw the caution right now.
Yeah, actually, I look at that.
There it is.
And there it is. Caution is out.
And everybody will have to come to pit lane. Frank, you can do just about anything you want to do here now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they probably would let you change the engine, but you certainly, they are going to allow you to change shocks tonight. I mean, there's going to be a multitude of adjustments that they're going to be able to make.
And if you're one of those cars outside the top 10, Frank, this is kind of the time where you think, as a driver, I would be thinking, throw the kitchen sink at it. Give me what you got.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure there's guys, a lot of guys are really, really tight tonight, so they're going to be trying to free their race car up.
If I'm William Byron, clean my windshield. I'm good to go. We'll be right back. The best of NASCAR's K&N Pro Series from the East and the West have made their way to Newton, Iowa, and Iowa Speedway for a great night of racing. It's been a little tough for a few of the drivers. Greg Galding cut down to right front, went into the wall. James Bickford has had his problems as well. But up front, it's been a pretty good night for these two.
Absolutely. William Byron has just put on a clinic so far.
But Frank, Brandon McReynolds is matching his pace.
He has matched his pace, and I believe with a little bit of an adjustment on that car, he'll have a shot in the second half.
Well, let's find out what the teams did during that mandatory stop. Here's Derek.
The face of this race could very much change. At the halfway point, all the drivers were allowed to come down pit road to take fuel, tires, and any adjustments they want. Matter of fact, NASCAR opened up the rule to be able to change almost anything. You can change shocks, springs, whatever. So, Frankie, I have a question for you. Being a crew chief, how much of an opportunity does that present and open up for your driver if you're not running that well?
Well, it's obviously a huge opportunity to be able to have that many tools in your toolbox. The downside on that is that because you have so many different things, you don't want to tune yourself out. I mean, if you're really close to having a chance at this thing tonight, don't change a shock absorber that really takes you all completely out of it. Now, if you're 25th, boy, you probably got to throw the toolbox at it.
Well, let's see who guessed right as we go back to green for the second half from Iowa. And just like they were when we had the break, the top 4 stay the same.
Great start by William Byron. Good start by the 17 there of David Mayhew. I think there was a couple cars that on the bottom had really good restarts, but they've got those 4 Mr. Feelgoods right now, and they're trying to get all they can out of them.
Noah Gregson's having a pretty good run. He's in the top 10, Derek.
And it's a strong run for the number 7 team of Noah Gragson. Actually, this Jefferson Pitts racing team that he's driving for is actually the former Gene Price Motorsports team that won championships with Greg Persley and Dylan Kwasniewski. He's very happy and comfortable with the equipment that he's in. He said he's learning with each and every race that he runs. He's also running one of the older style bodies on the car. He's not running one of those newer bodies that they're running this year. He said that's okay. It doesn't have as much downforce, but I still have a good feel for the car. Apparently, it's working out pretty well for him, because he won in his 3rd start in the West Series this year.
Yeah, that was at Tucson. Frank, can you explain the differences in the bodies?
Ralph, what NASCAR is trying to do is save these teams money over the long term. Years ago, we actually had a steel body car that came down from the Sprint Cup Series, and a lot of these guys bought cars from them and ran them. That car, you can still run right now, but you have to weigh 3,225 pounds. Now, 3 years ago, they came out with a plastic body that was a little cheaper version. It's 3,150 pounds they have to weigh. Now, this year, NASCAR has introduced what they call a new flange fit body. This actually, you can bolt it together with, don't even need a welder. You just need some wrenches, pair of pliers, bolt this thing together. Car weighs 3,120 pounds, and it's 60 pounds lighter on the right side than a steel-bodied car.
Boy, Dalton Sargent in that black and blue 51, he's one of the East drivers. He's working hard to lay claim to 8th place. Yeah. He's almost there, Parker, almost.
Noah there is just not giving him a break. He just won't get off that right rear quarter panel, and that can really frustrate you as a driver, as we spoke about early in the race. It's just, now he finally clears him. You can just get frustrated with that guy hanging there, just not letting you by, but this is the portion of the race where they're moving forward.
Well, we talked about how this is a great start for a lot of young drivers, and NASCAR announced their next group just recently, like Dylan Lupton here. He's going to be one of the future stars. Of course, we already introduced you to Rico. And, of course, Nicole Bihar. She's running with us as well tonight. The future of NASCAR. Great-looking group of young and very talented drivers. Here's a look at the class of 2015. James Bickford is a cousin to Jeff Gordon. Of course, John Hunter Nemechek, son of old Front Row Joe. Back to the racing action here. We talked about James Bickford in the 6 had some issues earlier, but Frankie, he looks like that car's working pretty good now.
Yeah, it looks like they've got it fixed. I think luckily he got to the pits before the sway bar arm drug off on the right side, so looks like the handling's not much of an issue.
And that's a tough thing to do sometimes, especially, you know, when you have that tire go down in the wrong place, which can be out of turn one, in turn one or such, and you have to go all the way around the racetrack, dragging that car on the ground.
He's battling with the Napa 15, a team car to Brandon McReynolds. That's one of the East Series drivers there, Nick Drake in the 15.
You got the 4 of Kenzie Russ in there coming up. She had a great season last season, moved over to the Rev Racing team this year, and she's had 1 top 10 so far.
One of 2 female drivers in the show here tonight. We'll have more from Iowa after this. Back here in Iowa at the Casey's General Store 150, Ralph Shaheen, Parker Kligerman, Frank Stoddard, and Derek Perniciglio with you tonight. That's Rico Abreu up top. He got a little damage, it looks, to the front, too. You see that on the left side of the nose.
Really making use of that high line right now. You see it coming in there, the 17, the 44, who was up there early in the race, wasn't making it work. It's not working for him now. You got the 54 there of Christopher Bell. I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see him have a truck start later this year in a KBM machine, which he's in right there.
We talked about Rico being a great open wheel star. Boy, Christopher Bell is another one, and you saw the 5 really get squirrely as Haley had to gather it back up.
And you've got Kyle Benjamin under there, Scott Heckert in the 34. He's going to clear him here easily and move on. And it just looks like some cars are able to make that top side work, which we see a lot at Iowa, where you go where the rubber isn't, where it hasn't been laid down, and some just stick to that bottom.
Well, Frank, we're also going to see which crew. Oh, here comes Rico working the bottom side here. That 98. Whoa!
That's that bias ply right there, Frank.
That's that bias ply. And, you know, for Rico, this is a huge racetrack for him. So for him to just run somewhere close to the top 10 is a great night for him.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. This is the tough part for William Byron, having to go through lap traffic. You know, this is where you've hopefully taken care of your tires, as you don't have a pit stop here, so you've got to take care of them throughout this run to be your best come lap 150. But then you have to deal with lappers, and that's where Brandon McReynolds is able to maybe close that gap a little bit on William Byron, and he needs to not be flustered and stay focused up on what's up front and clearing those guys, and kind of staying up with his spotter and seeing where the lines are that the lappers are almost a lap ahead. You have to think very far ahead as the lead driver so that that car behind you in second doesn't have an easier time on the lappers than you.
Both these guys look to me like the crew chiefs made about the same adjustment on the car, because what we saw in the first half of the race, we're seeing right here in the second half. They're right there neck and neck. If one of them get the front and get in the fresh air, I think he leads it and stays in the front. And if a restart happens, it could flop.
Here comes Haley, trying to get around Heckert, working on the bottom, and here comes Gregson as well.
Yeah, look at that 3 different lines. Whoa,
the 44 Bassett into the wall.
He has been high from the start of this race, hasn't he?
He's trying to make it work. He won't give up. He's committed to that high side. And more power to him for, you know, getting up there and using that racetrack. And sometimes that happens for as a driver. You find a little bit of a spot. Ooh, big
Did you see another slide there right behind? Is that the 66?
They are pushing hard.
Sure is.
This is go time. 18 laps to
Whoa,
go.
another
Hey.
one there. So I said take care of those tires. I'm not sure that memo got across.
Well, they're not taking care of them anymore. 18 to go. I think it's time to go.
Yeah, well, that's the funny part, though, is if you have a late caution there, you want to have your best stuff there. So you've got to kind of play that game of, do you go hard now and try to get away and hope there's no caution? Or if there is a caution, you've got to be ready.
McReynolds trying to take advantage of some of this lap traffic. He's moved up a little bit. Brandon trying to get to the outside of the
Lapper,
9.
Kenzie Russ in there. This is tight stuff right here. This is what you work for as a driver, to be in this position that Brandon McReynolds is in, chasing the leader and using the lap traffic.
And now we got one in the wall for good. Pass it. Just going to scrub it right along there, and that should bring out a caution, and it does.
And there's that caution, Frank.
Yeah, I'm guessing that he probably had rubbed the wall enough that he probably cut a tire eventually.
He's been really pushing outside. And I was saying earlier, as a driver, you sometimes do that, and your team won't fault you for trying to go out there and make something happen. And if you get in the wall, you know what? That's the race, but you weren't going to win the race anyways.
Well, if it was Darlington, you'd say it was a fast way around, but we're not. We're at Iowa, and eventually Iowa bit.
Well, and some of that is, you know, he's been using it outside effectively, and you got to go where the rubber hasn't been laid down.
You can see right there. You can see right there, though.
Yeah.
He cut a tire before he got in the fence.
Then he cut a tire. Yeah,
And I think he cut it from rubbing the wall down there at the other end.
Yep.
No doubt about it.
Absolutely. And that's just sometimes you push a little too far and you get bit.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do in this series, right? This is where you're learning those limits of yourself and the car and the tires and everything else. And if you keep doing it too much, you'll learn the limits of the budget of the team owner.
You got to be careful, because you can't learn being in the garage area either, you know. So from the spotter standpoint right there, I blame this on the spotter a little bit and the crew chief. I think they've seen him too far, too high at the racetrack, up the racetrack a lot tonight, and they needed to calm him down a little bit, bring him down into a safe groove to where he can just get the laps. I mean, he's young, he needs laps. He doesn't need to be on pit road.
I don't know, Frank. I'm on the other side of saying, you go out there, if you're making time and you find a place to be fast, go up there and make it work. And if it doesn't, you know, if something happens because of that, then you've just done, you know, you at least put yourself in a better position.
Parker, you're on TV talking about the racing now because of that theory right there. I mean,
Maybe. You never know.
Well, I know this
be
much.
right.
We've got 10 laps to go and 2 drivers that have chased each other all night. Brandon McReynolds turned 24 earlier this week. He's been all over that results page, but he has not won yet in the series. And boy, you take a look at that 9, and he has been so dominant here tonight. You wonder if maybe McReynolds just can't get around him.
Parker, I will say to you real quickly, I remember Kurt Busch when he first came onto the Sprint Cup Series. He went to 7 tests. He wrecked 7 cars, trying to figure out where it was. Guess what? He figured it out. It did work out for him. So that theory works.
Sometimes
William
you gotta push
Byron
it.
on the bottom. Brandon McReynolds on the high side. 10 laps to go here at Iowa as we go back to green. Oh, good jump.
Very good jump. Good restart by William Byron.
Jesse
Here
Little.
comes Little to the bottom. Can he
Ooh,
get
3
around
wide there.
McReynolds? 3 wide back in 4th, 5th, and 6th. They're going to settle that out in the battles for the lead as we storm off into 3.
Don't count out Jesse Little. Boy, has
Look
he...
at this crossover move here. He moved up from the top, got William Byron to slide up and try to balk him, and crossed under him. That was an excellent move by Brandon McReynolds to fight here for the lead down into 1.
The most aggressive racing we've seen for the lead here tonight, and McReynolds is going to take it.
He's going to clear him, and that's awesome. That's really a competitive racer that's watched the race throughout, you know, seen what the 9 has been doing throughout the race, seen other restarts, and taken advantage of when it mattered.
3 wide back here as well as things really heat up in the closing stages here in Iowa. Abreu just in front of this group.
That was tight, for
That
sure.
was the 7 of Noah Gregson, the winner from Tucson on the outside.
Problems, and Abreu's in the wall along with the 66, and the caution is out once again. Oh, Devin Amos into the wall with Rico.
Rico has shortened his up, and so has Devin.
Yeah, that's a tough one to see. That's when the spotter says, can you see? And you say, nope, we got to come in.
One's got the front and one's got the back, and I don't think that Rico looks like he's going to be going anywhere too soon.
Might just be a product of the close racing we saw there. 3 wide and just guys going for it. I mean, this is what happens. You get one of these late race cautions at a place that's shown a lot of raceable lanes. You know, this is where guys are jockeying around and moving and trying to find where they can get to the front and get everything they can to hopefully get a better finish.
Boy, the back and the front of Rico's car torn up. Let's go back and take a look at it here.
Oh, they're 3 wide here.
Yeah, there it is. Oh,
no.
It was in front of him.
In front of him, yeah.
With the 7 of Noah Gragson, and then Amos just had nowhere to go.
The front bumper of the 7 might have had a little bit of a product there with the 98 ending up in the wall. We'll have to.
Well, that's a big hit right there for Rico. It looks like the window now. He's walking towards the ambulance, so he's in good shape.
Definitely. That's the worst place. As you enter the corner, you're at your fastest speed. You've just touched the brakes really to slow down, and if the 7 car, any car gets in you, or you know, these cars are on such an edge, you can get up there and just tap them at that point. They're going to go around, and sure enough, the 98 ended up in the wall.
Well, the NASCAR officials have put out the red. We will have about 6 laps to go when we come back to Iowa for the finish of this one. Welcome back to Iowa Speedway. Almost done here at the Casey's General Store 150. Rico Abreu involved in a big hit. He's standing by with Derek.
Well, Rico Abreu took a hard impact into turn 1. Are you okay? And what happened out there?
Yeah, I just kept getting pushed from behind. It's really unfortunate. Everyone with Harry Scott and Justin Marks, they do such a great job to build 5 cars at every track or every race. So it's just unfortunate, and you know, we'll get them at Bowman Gray and be good here back at Iowa.
You really started to turn up the wick out there. It looks like you're getting used to these cars. How frustrating is it to be able to come through the field and then have something like that happen?
It's just so unfortunate, really. You know, these guys build such great race cars, and it sucks to tear them up.
It's tough to tear them up, but the good thing is Rico Abreu's okay.
Oh, yeah, and we'll see him back for sure. I was starting to think if it wasn't going to happen with Rico, it was going to happen with the 3 guys behind him, because they were pushing and shoving pretty aggressively, too.
Yeah,
really aggressive.
I for sure, until we saw the replay, that's exactly what I thought happened.
Okay, so McReynolds was on the high side. On the last restart, he's up there again as we go back to green, and Brandon with a good jump.
Great jump by Brandon. And that's really smart by him to take that outside, knowing how well it worked from the last time, and really, you know, deciding his race and choosing where he wants to be on this racetrack. He's going to clear the 9 of William Byron there. Really smart move.
But interestingly, he took the lead on the bottom.
Well, he did the crossover move.
Yeah, the crossover.
So I think it's a mix of both.
Okay.
He knew what he was doing. I think he's really read this race well and seen how the rubber is laid down and made some very smart moves.
Ronnie Bassett's done a pretty good job of saving his car, too, back there in 3rd in that 0-4, and he's in a good position to fight for a better spot in the top 3 here.
That 7 car of Noah Gragson had a great run around the outside there, 3 wide.
Boy, they're still racy back here. A lot of pushing and shoving with 2 to go.
We may have a green-white checker the way they're racing back here.
This is intense.
White flag is out. 1 more lap. We talked about how this racetrack is great for delivering first-time winners. Could it be the same for Brandon McReynolds?
He's got to just keep it on the bottom here. William Byron had a little bit of a run there. You can see he's really pushing everything he's got, getting a little bit sideways. But as long as Brandon can get back to the throttle here well, it's going to be his. This is a really impressive run by him to get this win.
Checkered flag falls, and Brandon McReynolds has his first career win, and it comes here at the K&N Pro Series, the East-West combo at Iowa Speedway. The Casey's General Store 150 goes to the Napa Toyota of Brandon McReynolds, and that's a happy crew down there. The Bill McAnally organization has a driver going to victory lane here today.
Frank, that's the patience you talked about. He rode in 2nd for most of this race, but when it mattered, he took advantage of the 9 car and took the win.
I wonder if that's got something to do with the fact that he's 24.
We'll be right back to hear from him after this. K&N Pro Series racing on NBCSN is brought to you by K&N High Flow Air Filters and Air Intake Systems, because everyone loves that fast car smell. Well, there's Victory Lane, a place that Brandon McReynolds has been dreaming about all his life, and he's there finally tonight. Of course, the son of a legendary NASCAR crew chief and broadcaster Larry McReynolds, he's a winner here today. Having just turned 24, what a way to celebrate.
What a win for Brandon. And you know the other thing, Ralph, is what a win for the West Series. This shows the West that it can be done. You can beat the East.
Well, let's hear from him. He's standing by with Derek, and I'm sure he's pumped.
Well, a huge celebration going on down here in Victory Lane. Brandon McReynolds picks up the win. Finally, a win in the NASCAR K&N Pro Series. What does it mean to you?
It's huge, man. Kind of emotional, you know. It's all these guys standing behind me when probably should have gotten fired last year for not winning any races for Napa. But it's just a testament to these guys. You know, I just got to thank them for standing behind me. The West guys have gotten their butts kicked pretty bad here for a long time, so it's cool to come out here and whip up on these East guys. And just got to thank Napa, Toyota, personal sponsor of mine, Rocky Ridge. They've done a good job with me, and my family, and my fiance. They're back home, and really excited to get home and to share this with them. But this is about these guys right here. They work their asses off in Sacramento, and I'm always back east working on our stuff out there, and just really proud of all these guys. They deserve it a lot more than I do, so it was good.
Michael Self was the last West Series driver to win in 2013. You do it here tonight, but how tough was it to keep William Byron behind you?
It was pretty tough. I mean, he was good. I felt like our ratios were a little off on our transmission or whatever we had going on there. I don't know if it's just me spinning the tires, but got that good run on the top there, and it got better and better and better, and it started coming to us. So I knew if I could get clean air, we're going to be in good shape. But William Byron, he's a class act. He's going to win a lot of races, go really far. He's a young guy, so he's got a bright future ahead of him.
Well, his friends call him Muffy, and Muffy wins one tonight in Victory Lane at Iowa.
Well, that is such a true racing family, too. Mom Linda, sisters Brooke and Kendall, you know, they are really going to be pumped up for this one.
Absolutely. I know Brandon well, and I think he's a class act as well, as he talked about William Byron being a class act.
Here's a look at the results page. You know, Christopher Bell really had a tough night, but he made it work. He comes home with a top 5.
We didn't talk about him earlier. He was actually on pit road. We watched him come down pit road and raise the hood earlier around lap 45. So to drive back up to the field, heck of an effort.
James Bickford was up and down throughout the night. He ends up 24th. Rico gets credited with the 30th after that late race incident. And here's a look at the rest of the drivers as they cross the line. Greg Gaulding had that problem. He ends up 36th. Here's Derek.
Well, William Byron comes home in the second spot, but he picks up the win for the East Series. How tough was Brandon McReynolds tonight?
Yeah, he was pretty tough. We had a great battle the whole race, so he's raced here a lot. But, you know, it's kind of a bummer to come home second, leading the laps we did, but just really proud of my whole Liberty University team. H. Scott Motorsports with Justin Marks gave me a great race car, and I can't thank them enough.
How much does this help you in your bid for your first championship?
Yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, we got max points tonight for the E Series, and the E Series is tough in itself. So to come here my first time in Iowa and finish second, it's pretty awesome. So I've never seen this racetrack before this morning, and it's big, but I had a lot of fun out there.
Runner-up finish, William Byron, guys.
Yeah, William did a great job first time seeing the place. Now, you heard Derek mention he got the East win. As you take a look at the East and the West points, let's explain this to you a little bit. Since it's a combo race, even though William didn't actually win the race, he was the highest finishing East competitor, so he gets points and technically gets a win for being that position. And of course, you saw Brandon getting the win and the West lead points. All right, let's go back to Derek.
Well, it's been a strong run for Ronnie Bassett Jr. here tonight at the Iowa Speedway. Started 13th, picked the cars off along the way. How was the race from your seat tonight?
Oh, it was great. You know, we didn't have really the qualifying effort that we wanted. That's where we'd been all day in practice. So to actually be able to qualify halfway decent and drive our car to the front was pretty cool.
You've got Jerry Babb up on the pit box tonight. He's worked in the truck series before. How much of a help has he been for your team?
He's been great. He's done a really good job. Coming to these racetracks that I've been to once or twice, he's been here several times, knowing the setups and stuff like that, so we can start off the trailer a lot closer than we have been in the past. So I'm looking forward to getting back to the big tracks, and we'll have a lot of fun.
Third place finish for Ronnie Bassett Jr. tonight.
Yeah, the East drivers finished second, third, and fourth, with the West drivers bookending it between Brandon McReynolds in first and Christopher Bell in fifth. Well, the next race here at NBCSN will be the K&N Pro Series East. The NASCAR Hall of Fame 150 from legendary Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. You'll see it Thursday, June 4th, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on NBCSN. Well, it was a great day and evening of racing here at Iowa.
Absolutely. impressive win by Brandon McReynolds, and a great race up front throughout the entire race.
Yeah, it sure was. And William Byron can take solace in the fact that he may not have gotten the trophy, but he's going to get max points.
And I think as race fans, we can be happy with the fact that the future of the NASCAR series look awful bright based on the quality of the competition we've seen here today. For Parker Kligerman, Frank Stoddard, and Derek Bernasiglio, I'm Ralph Shaheen. So long for now from Iowa Speedway. Congratulations, Brandon McReynolds. You're a first-time winner.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.